Welcome back to the Gobby Gaffer, and in today's video we're going to have a quick look at how I carry out my transfer business. So we're going to use the Leicester save at the end of the 2023-24 season, and they're back in the Premier League now, so we're going to have a look at that and just use that as a basis for how I carry out my transfer business. Now, a little bit of a disclaimer. I know that having watched quite a few YouTube, football manager content creators, I know that quite a few of them won't click certain buttons. They won't use a lot of the interface because they feel it's cheating, and that's absolutely fine. I would say that I use everything that's, let's get it straight from the off. I've never used the in-game editor. I wouldn't even know how to use it. Been playing Football Manager for years. I've never used the in-game editor. But I think the game as it stands, if there's a button there to click, then I will click it and I will use it. I kind of liken it a little bit to, okay, it's a computer game. So it's you against the AI. I liken it a little bit to, let's say, for instance, Call of Duty, where they start you off with 3 guns. You've got a really powerful gun, a mid-range gun, and maybe a bow and arrow or a revolver. And you're fighting 25 tanks and an army of 1,000. And for me, it's a little bit like going in there and saying, you know what? I think it might be cheating a little bit using the really high-powered machine gun. I'm going to go with the revolver instead and see how we do it. To me, that's how if it's there in the game, then I don't see a reason not to use it. I'm not saying that everybody should do it my way. This is just my way of doing it. And I generally have fairly successful transfer windows. It doesn't always happen because sometimes the players are just not there. But I usually have fairly successful transfer windows. And, like I say, this is just my way of doing it. And all I can do is maybe pass a few things on that maybe you will find useful in your save. Okay, let's get stuck straight in and to where do we start? Well, we start with staff. The staff in your club, the scouts, the chief scout, the director of football, the recruitment analysts, all of these people all need to be the best that you can get them. I've seen 1 or 2 YouTubers who, they flash through the staff screen and all the bar charts are all like 1/3 of the way down. And I'm thinking, how is your save working if you've not got the staff in there for recruitment, for coaching, on the medical side? And again, I'm not here to tell anybody how to run their saves. That would just be ridiculous. But if you watched any of my videos before, you will know I like to have all of those bar charts the best that they can possibly be. If they're top of the shop for everything, then I'm absolutely happy. I can go away and leave that to run itself. So if we just have a little look at my staffing screen. Now, this is at the end of a season in the Championship. So all of these, but the medical side here, I do need to ask for more physios, more sports scientists to try and get this higher. I'm aware that that's not great. But when I go into the Premier League, I know that these bar charts automatically will drop because the bar chart is based on a comparison of the league that you're in. So it's the highest. If Liverpool have got the highest in scouting or the highest in goalkeeper coaching, then that will drop your bar down because you will then become the 2nd or the 4th or the 10th. So I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted here, and you all know, you all know about this. But anyway, so as you can see, I am a coach short. I will be asking for more coaches for this save. I'm a scout short, so I will be asking for more scouts. Now, a little tip here that I've seen quite a lot. Now, 1 or 2 of you might say this is cheating. Okay, fine. But I always qualify this with the fact that how many times in Football Manager have we felt cheated out of a game, out of a trophy, out of a win even? One of the things that's running at the moment that I've seen quite a lot of in my own saves and other people's is the number of games in a season where you will have 35 shots, 15 on target, the opposition has 4 shots, 2 on target, and you get beat 2-1. How many times does that happen? So I think if I can use anything that's in the game and it's there to be clicks and it's okay and it works, I don't see why not. So my tip of the day is, when your staff contracts come to an end, let's have an example. Let's say you've got a fitness coach who he's top of the shop. He's a 20 for fitness. He's on £850 a week and his contract comes to an end. Now, I have seen people run down the email that you get, delayed decision, all that. And, we need to go in. But what happens in Football Manager, and I've seen this an awful lot, what happens is if you don't offer that fitness coach another contract, more than likely he will stay at your club on £850 a week. And as long as nobody sees him, he'll just stay there. He'll stay at your club. Now, to my mind, okay, maybe it is a little bit underhand, but I don't offer him a new contract. Because if I go in and offer him a new contract, I know for a fact he'll want to jump from 850 quid to like 6 grand. So, and that applies to all of your staff. If you've got a great director of football, nobody poaches him, nobody comes in at the end of his contract, then why not just keep him on whatever he's on, 2 grand instead of 10 grand? I don't know. Again, that's all up to you. This is the way I do it. Okay, let's have a quick look. So we do need a scout, and obviously the scouting for transfers is an immense part of the game. I use a director of football, and we do have a director of football at the club. So let's just go in and have a quick look at the director of football. It's John Rudkin, director of football. So basically the attributes that the game says that he needs are player ability, player potential and negotiating. He's a 15, 16 and 19, so he's very, very good. And he's got a 20 for adaptability. He's disciplined, he's 17. Because some of these will come into it as well. Even though they're not highlighted, some of these will make him a better director of football. But I rely on a director of football. I use him. So let's just have a quick look then at the way that I set my responsibilities up. And we're going to have a look at the scouting area. So the scouting area, I've got my chief scout assigning the scouts. Now you can do it one of 2 ways. I have got a tutorial video on how to set your own scouts up, how to hire them, how to send them out, how to get the best out of them. But as we all know, Football Manager, very complex game. So I think sometimes if you can get a staff member in who's very, very good at the job to do that for you, then why not? So currently I have Martin Glover, Chief Scout. He's organising all of the scouting. He's sending the scouts out, and I leave him to do that. Obviously, we need a good Chief Scout, and that's what we're going to have a quick look at now. We're going to focus on the director of football, but this applies to any staff member. And the only thing that I'm doing is handling scouting meetings, although in FM23, I don't know whether it's the greatest. I don't think it's as good as FM22, the scouting meetings. But anyway, that's another story. Okay, let's look at transfers and contracts. Now, I know a lot of you will have, yourself being the person who negotiates player signings and initiating player signings. I don't. I have my director of football doing that. Now, providing he's good, then... in fact, providing he's excellent, then what he will do through the season, went through the transfer window, he will bring in players and say, look, this lad here, he'll even go to the point of trying to sign him. If you notice here, finalising player signings, I've got control of that. So he can bring players to me, I can have a look at them, and he'll bring players that are not coming up in the scouting. So sometimes, not all of the time, in fact, very often the director of football will probably look at areas that you're not really that keen on, but occasionally he'll come up with an absolute gem, and he'll come up with like a 4-star, I'm not saying Wonderkids, but with a 4-star potential 5-star player for quite low money. And it really, really works. I've done it quite a few times. If you watched any of my videos, you will, I actually say this one was found by my director of football. It wasn't even on my radar. The scouts had not picked him up. And again, this comes, in having a really good director of football. So this is how I set mine up. I have the director of football looking, negotiating for players, initiating players, but I have the final say. So back to this director of football. So I'm now on the staff search screen, and I've put director of football in, and Julian Ward has come up. He's English, so no problem with speaking the language. But as opposed to my director of football, John Rudge, I think it is, as opposed to the director of football I've got now, he is better at judging ability and potential, I think. His negotiating is not quite as good, but that doesn't really matter to me because I do all the negotiating. Level of determination and discipline is very, very good. He's got good people management. His adaptability is not that great, but having said that, if you look at the areas that he covers, so he's got knowledge, extensive England, Portugal, Spain, Brazil, France and Argentina. So if we just go and have a look, in fact, let's do a comparison between him and John Rudkin. So we do a little bit of a comparison here. So if we look at the mental attributes, Ward is a much more determined person. His tactical knowledge is much better. And he's got one more point in judging player ability. So on the face of it, it probably looks like he is a step up from John Rudkin, but not by a lot. But having said that, if we look at John Rudkin and his knowledge base, he's got extensive knowledge of England, but that's all really. So at the end of the day, would you say that the other lad is better? I mean, everybody it's open to discussion. Everybody will have their own ideas about that, but I think the fact that we're now back in the Premier League and we're going to need top-notch, maybe, South American players could be a really good, we're going to need some better players. And because he's got really, really great knowledge of different areas, Portugal, I think, was one of them, I think he's a much, much better director of football than John Rudkin. So we have to have a look now, and this is another thing you have to bear in mind. He's on £7,500 a week until 2026. So he's got a 2-year contract left. You have to work out for yourself. And if we have a look at the finances here, we've got 70 million in the bank, transfer budget of 55 million. We've got well over £1 million wage budget to spare. Can we afford to sack him or ask for a mutual termination? I mean, I would be inclined to go in for the other lad, try and sign him up, and then the board will come to you and say, you can't have another one, but you can get rid of the other one if you want. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So what I'm kind of saying here in a long-winded way is that do this with all of your staff, all of the staff that make a difference to your club, whether it be coaching, scouting, medical. Do it with them all. You need the best person in that position that you can possibly get. And today we're talking about transfers. A director of football, absolutely vital to me. So I think I am going to put on a bid in for the other lad. And also I did say we needed another scout. I probably will be asking for more, but I've just gone to the staff search screen again. I know quite a lot of Football Manager players will put adverts in, but like I say, it's all personal preference, and I think the button is there to be clicked, so I use it. Staff search screen, and you just search for what you want. And this lad has come up, Aurelio Pereira, 76-year-old Portuguese. He's got a 19 for judging ability, 20 for potential. He's got an adaptability of 18. Fact, his mentals are absolutely brilliant. And he's got extensive knowledge of Portugal, Brazil, France and Argentina. So if we get the new director of football and we get this lad, we're really well covered for that area of the world. So again, we're going to offer this lad a contract. He wants 9k a week. We'll just give him that because he's very, very good, and I don't want him to get pinched. And so we've got another scout in. Once he comes in, the chief scout will say, right, this is where you're going, mate, and off you go. And let's see if we can get some good players in and get some good recommendations. So the other thing I would say is at the moment we're on the 26th of May, so the transfer window has not opened yet. Now, what I generally do is, we can go to the squad planner and we can have a look in here. So I know, for instance, Jamie Vardy is retiring this year. Pat Sadaka is a 4-star striker. Shea Adams are brought in for the Championship. Whether he'll be good enough for the Premier League, probably. But we've got 2 decent strikers in there. You have to have a look at this and just see where you're a little bit low. Isco in midfield, okay. Depending which formation you used him in the asymmetric. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you probably need to go and watch the Leicester save. But in the asymmetric formation that I used, he was a really good playmaker and created an awful lot of goals for us. Not so much in the standard tactic. So we've got Oxlade-Chamberlain there. We've got Pascal Gross, who we didn't use an awful lot of. But again, it's another... I think I'm probably preaching to the converted here, but certainly, you would look through this, get it all organised and see which positions. For instance, I know we need at least 1 centre-back, probably a couple. Wing-backs we're probably a little bit light on. We've got Ndidi at centre-back, although not centre-back, at DM, but I've got a feeling because I simulated and I didn't have control of the whole season, he's actually got a transfer arranged at the end of this season. So I think I am going to be needing a DM. That's if I play this system. I could play the asymmetric system. Then I'm going to be looking for different types of players. So again, depending what tactic you're using, you need to look at all of this and see whether you've got the right players for the right positions. So if we go into the scouting screen, go to players, go to scouted players. So my next tip would be, unless there's a player in here that you're thinking, I need him, in fact, I'll build a tactic around him. Unless there's a player in here, don't jump. Just leave it for a good month. Even wait till getting into the end of July. Just wait, bide your time, let your scouts do the job, and the more you wait, the more players will turn up in here. So that would be my other tip. Don't jump in straight away. Now I know this won't be for everybody. Generally in the transfer window, I can spend anything from 5 to 8 hours in the transfer window, just sifting through players. And this is how I find really good potential players. So basically, okay, we're at the top of the tree here. I've sorted it by ability. I wouldn't necessarily look at the first one and say, yeah, okay, we need to have a look at him. I would scroll down and I'd get myself a cup of coffee and I'd spend, probably 4, 5, 6 hours just going through these players, because sometimes down at the bottom end here, you can find some gems, and generally that's where I tend to find. Probably not in the C recommended, but sometimes in the B recommended players, you can find a little gem in there. Particularly strikers who you want certain attributes for. Defenders, you want to be really tall but good heading, really good marking, positioning, all of that kind, but really good mentals. Sometimes you can find really good players down here, so don't be afraid to scroll down. Now again, this is not for everybody. I know some players find the transfer window really boring. I don't. This is my favourite part of the game. I would be a director of football in Football Manager all day long, because once you get into a season, you start getting the buffoonery going on with the AI and all of these silly things that it does. I could take or leave that. This side of it, negotiating for players, bringing players in, bringing young players on, that really interests me. But like I say, don't be afraid to scroll down, and if you're not into this and you're not into stats and sifting through players, then this is not for you. But that's what I do, and sometimes, as well as the director of football bringing players in, this is where I find some gems sometimes. And the next thing I would say is that depending on where you are in the league system. So, for instance, in the lower leagues, in the Vanarama National, the Sky Bet League 2, even Sky Bet League 1 to an extent, it's always worth waiting till July the 1st. Again, I might be stating the obvious here, but I'm sure there may be some new players who are not aware of this. But if you wait till July the 1st, you will get all of the players who are out of contract and who are going to come to you on a free. Now, the higher up in the leagues you get, the less of a thing this becomes. Sometimes you can pick up a gem in there, because even some of the Premier League teams are not going to have a great lot of money to spend. So it can work for, the kind of lower rated Premier League teams sometimes. But more often than not, up to like Sky Bet League 1, 2, that kind of thing, this will work. Wait till the 1st of July. If you've not got a lot of money to spend, transfer some or all of your transfer budget into wage budget, and don't look to buy players. Look to either loan them in and get the parent club to pay all their wages, etc., which can be done. I've used it a lot of times myself. Or January the 1st, have a look and see what players there is available that are coming in on a free transfer. Bring them in on loan if you need to. Bring them in on loan for a week. Sometimes, if the stats are not particularly clear and they've not been scouted very well, bringing them on loan will actually bring them some, because you're actually getting to, the game's actually getting to look at them then. Your coaches and trainers will look at them, and one or two of the star ratings might start to be, a little bit more kind of prominent, and you'll get to see whether they're a good player or not. So, like I say, always have a look. July the 1st, don't click the button and roll it on. As soon as July the 1st hits, have a look. See if there are any, because sometimes you can pick up. I picked up for Leicester, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain came in on a free. So it saved me the money. I didn't have to buy him, just had to fork out for his wages, and it's happy days. And then, not only that, but if you're, whatever club you're at, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain, in fact, let's have a look how much Oxlade-Chamberlain is worth at the moment. So I'm pretty sure I brought him in on a free, Oxlade-Chamberlain. So Oxlade-Chamberlain now is worth 41 million, and I brought him in on a free transfer. So it's added value for the club, and it's a no-brainer really. So I'm going to move on now to I'm going to press continue a few times, get through into the transfer window, maybe even 1st of July. Let my scouts do their thing. Do a bit of head scratching of what players I want. I know I need a new central defender or two, but just see what players are coming available, and then we'll very shortly we'll come back and we'll have a look at how I sift through players and what I look for in players, and whether I think they're going to be a good fit for my team. Okay, it's the 11th of June, and I just thought we'd come back at this moment in time. We did get the new director of football. We had to pay off the old director of football. Cost us about 850,000, so not cheap. But when you consider that if you've got the money to be able to do it, which we have, a good director of football can make that kind of money back tenfold for you with just one good signing. And his first recommendation that he's brought in here is a Dynamo Moscow's 21-year-old Arshavin Zakarian. Now, if we have a quick look at him, he's basically a 3.5 star, potential to be 4. He's got a value of about 15 million, but he's coming in at end of contract. It's not going to cost us any money. He wants to be a star player. If we have a look at his attributes, he is very, very good. He can play in quite a few positions. So in the asymmetric tactic that I'm looking at, he can play in these wide midfield stroke winger roles. but he can play through the middle. His best position is an attacking midfielder. Now, last season, we had Mudryk on loan from Chelsea. Played very, very well for us, but he's going back. He's up to 70 million value. We can't afford that. But this lad, if we do a bit of a comparison, and these are all the things that you've got to do, you've got to have a look. Let's compare with Mudryk. So on the overall screen here, or the overview screen, I tend to use the attribute screen. So I use this one instead. And I think this gives you a much more detailed view. So yes, you know, Mudryk was very good. He's a braver, more determined, slightly better flair, work rate. But this lad here, this Zakarian, he's 2 years younger than Mudryk. And I think he could be a very, very good replacement for Mudryk. He's got some development to do, but he's a lot taller, and tall players in Football Manager are worth the weight in gold. If you've got a team of 6'3", 6'4" players, you're going to score a lot of goals from set pieces. So I think he might be worth having a look at on a free transfer. And just going back to his stats again, so as an attacking midfielder, which we probably would play him as, or even as a shadow striker, because my asymmetric has an AM and a shadow striker in there. So if we have a look at shadow striker, off the ball 14, he's got decent work rate, he's got great vision, which even though you're playing him as a shadow striker or an attacking midfielder, he's still got that vision there. He can still slide a ball through. He's quite quick. His mentals are very, very good. And dribbling, finishing, first touch. So these are all the things you've got to look at. And passing of 15, technique of 15. So you've got to have a look where you would like to play him. Attacking midfield player there. So it would be one of those two roles. And I think, given the fact that he's coming in on a free and he's only 21, I think it'd be worth putting a bid in for him, because then that leaves more of the budget to maybe go and sign other players, like maybe 2 really top-class central defenders. I signed Salisu last season. He was in the team of the year. So we've got a very, very good central defender there. But obviously, you know, we need to keep looking what the scouts are bringing in. Like I say, don't jump, but this is a good example of what a good director of football can do for you. Okay, 21st of June now, and another example. Director of football has brought me Barcelona's 23-year-old Arno Tenas, 23-year-old goalkeeper. Now, my backup goalkeeper has just been sold, 30-year-old Danny Ward. So I do need a backup goalkeeper. This lad's coming as a 2-star with the potential to be 125,000. And again, if we do all of the usual, you know, let's have a look at his stats. He's 6'1", 12 stone. He's, for a 23-year-old goalkeeper, looks very, very good. Again, we can do a comparison. We could do a comparison with Danny Ward. Have a look at his stats in here, and bearing in mind he's only 23. Danny Ward was, well, he's 31 now. He has left and he's gone to play for Sheffield United. But I think potentially for 125,000, I mean, this is giving me quite a lot of money now in my kitty. I'm bringing possibly 2 players in here, an attacking midfield player, backup goalkeeper. I've got really decent money now to buy potentially two really good centre-backs. So again, the director of football has come through, and I think probably I'm going to let him you know, carry on with this one, and then I'll okay it at the end. And straight away now, everything's been agreed on that one, but it's now up to me to decide whether I want to sign the lad. I've had a good look at him. I think he looks okay as a backup keeper, and he will progress. I think one of these, you know, in a few years' time, he could be a very, very good keeper. So we've got the options here now. We can walk away, and believe me, when you've got a director of football, and depending what level he's at, quite a lot of the time you will walk away from them, because they do tend to bring some duds in sometimes. But this one, I am going to start negotiations with the lad. He's costing us 125,000, I think. He's quite happy to be a backup, 2-star with the potential to be 5. we'll just negotiate here with his. I mean, again, I don't need to show you how to negotiate with a player, but I think we'll maybe try and knock his wages down a little bit. Let's go with 9k. See what happens. He wants 10.5. That's okay. I'm fine. And I think we've got a really good backup keeper there, and that's all thanks to my director of football. And this email just goes to show the weight that I put behind having a really good director of football. Obviously, it was a different director of football in the Championship. We've now terminated his contracts and got what I think is a better one. But at the time, he was the one who recommended to me Isco on a free transfer, and he's actually the signing of the season. So 40 appearances, 13 goals, 11 assists, and an average rating of 7.2. So again, the value of having a really good director of football. You have to be switched on. You have to watch in your emails when he's putting a bid in for a player. Immediately check, okay, what do we think about this? Because you can actually go into, if you go into transfers, in here, you can actually say, no, I don't want him, and just click the red X, and the director of football will forget that one and move on to the next one. But having a really good director of football is, my director of footballs over the years has found me some really, really good players. And just a little word on the recruitment meetings. Now, I know that when I did show you into the staff responsibilities, I'm kind of controlling that, but I have to say I don't like FM23's recruitment meeting is nowhere near as good as FM22. Personal opinion, I don't know. I never use it, so I just decline that because I suppose I could set it in staff responsibilities and let somebody else do it, but I always like to keep certain things under my control just in case something comes along that is beneficial to me. Okay, so here's an example. Director of football, he seems a little bit obsessed with goalkeepers at the moment, so he's actually put an offer in here for Atalanta's 23-year-old Marco Carcinecci, and he's a 2.5 star with the potential to be 3 or 4. But given that the young kid is coming in from Barcelona, we're just waiting on for our work permit with him. So I think what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to knock that one back. So what we can do in here, we can go into transfers, and if we just click the in and just go onto here and withdraw the offer. So I've basically overridden the director of football because, in my opinion, I think the young kid has got more potential, and as a backup, he's only going to get better. So I would rather have him. The director of football needs to start looking in different areas. And the director of football now has turned his attention to right wing back. He's made an offer of, up to 8.5 million for, what's he called? Milan van Iwijk. I'm not sure. He's okay. He's a 3-star. He's not really got a lot of potential. 23-year-old. I mean, he's quick. I'll give him that. He's very quick. He can mark and tackle. 5'9". Not quite sure about him. Sometimes you get gut feelings about players, and I think he's okay, and he might be an okay backup player. But for the Premier League, not quite sure. So I think, again, we're going to go into transfers and we're going to cancel that one off. So as you can see, director of football, sometimes it works really well. Sometimes you just have to be a bit selective. Well, we have hit to the 1st of July now. So I'm not expecting, a lot of players to be available on free transfers. But it might just be worth having a quick look now. So if we go into a new search, I'm not going to identify a position. Just going to go into expired contracts, click OK, and again, for those of you who are used to doing this, then fine. But there might be some new players around who, this is like a learning curve for them. So, just looking down here, obviously, Zakaran, he is joining us, so that's fine. Oliver there probably would have been a good signing, but he's got a transfer arranged. We do need a defensive midfield player. Julian Weigl, 28 years old, and on a free transfer would have been a great signing, but he's got a transfer arranged as well. So it's a case of just, keep your eyes open, have a look down here. We've got a pressing forward there, Santi Molina. He would be coming in on a free. Looks okay. His mentals are very, very good. Not quite sure we do need a striker though. So I think at this moment in time, although like I say, scroll down, have a look. And we've got Fred here, who is on a free. He's, his best position isn't as a DM, so I'm not quite sure I would go for him. But just looking down there on the free transfers, we're getting down to recommended C ratings now. But just scroll down and have a good look. I mean, I know that I don't think there's going to be anything in there. So as far as transfers go now, we're going to now start, after the 1st of July, going to now start looking in earnest. I brought a couple of new scouts in, got the new director of football. Let's start looking in earnest. We need 2 centre-backs and a DM. So I've now jumped into scouted players, and we're looking primarily at centre-backs. We're at the top of the list here. The first one that jumps out is Victor Nelson. He's wanted by PSG. I mean, we probably wouldn't get him. He's on the market for up to 13.5 million. I am actually scouting him because we haven't scouted him. I could take a risk on him because 6'1", heading of 11 to 13. I mean, he looks okay. His mentals look very, very good. But I don't know whether it's worth taking a risk on him. It might be. I'm not too sure. But again, like I say, don't jump at the first one. So we need to scroll down a little bit and just have a little bit of a further look down. So, for instance, Lacroix, 24-year-old French lad, has got 5-star potential, coming in as a 3-star. I mean, basically, I'm trying to sign somebody who's better than what we've got, because we have got a couple of decent centre-backs already. But this lad is 6'3". He's very quick. I do like a tall, quick centre-back, because obviously if you get the ball put over the top, you need somebody who can catch up to them. Very determined. Again, it's not fully scouted. Not quite sure about that one. Now this lad here pops out. The first thing I kind of look at is the star rating, the ability and potential ability. That gives me a little bit of a guide. Doesn't always work, but that's where I start. Jose Cordoba, he's wanted by quite a few clubs, but he's on the market quite cheaply, 2.9 million. He's only 23, 6'2", very left-footed, but quite quick. He's got a really good jumping reach, very good fitness, pace, very strong. His media description's powerful centre-back. Mentals, very, very good. Marking, tackling, very good. Positioning, very good. Composure, maybe a little bit low at 12. But for that kind of money, again, it's another one. Do we put an offer in for him? Let's ask the agent. See what he says. He's coming to the end of his contract. 2.4 million. Want wages between 28 and 37k a week. So maybe he would be a good signing. I mean, let's have a look. I generally look at the history as well. How did he do last season? 26 appearances, 4 goals, 3 assists, 2 play of the match, 7.32. So not too bad. Let's compare him with Salisu, who was our standout centre-back last season. So again, have a good look down here. So Cordoba, he's better at passing, free kick taking, not really the defensive things we're looking for. I mean, they're pretty even, aren't they, technically? I mean, again, pretty even. He's definitely quicker than Salisu. He's got better balance, jumping reach, fitness, pace. I mean, again, would he? I mean, for 2.4 million, I think it maybe is a bit of a no-brainer, that one. And looking down the list a little bit further, so we've got a 3-star with the potential to be 4 here. Wide centre back, Mickey van der Ven, playing at Wolfsburg. Now, okay, he's going to cost us some money, 26 million, but he looks the business. Very, very quick. He's 6'4". His mentals look very, very good. Obviously, we'd be paying more money for him, but to be quite honest, I mean, let's do a comparison with Salisu. So Salisu, I mean, overall, Mickey van der Ven looks a much better player than Salisu, so he would be an improvement for the Premier League as well. He actually looks the business. I mean, it might be worth putting a bid in for him and the cheaper lad as well at 2.4 million. And then I've already got 2 half decent centre backs. That would give us 4 decent centre backs then. And we'd probably spend I mean, let's have a look at him. Let's ask the agent, see what the agent says. So they want between 20 and 26 million. He wants a wage of 130 to 175 a week. Let's see if we can knock that down, 120 to 160k a week. I think he might be the one. Got a bit of a gut feeling about him. Very left-footed again, but 23-year-old. He's still quite young, very tall, very good stats. I think he might be the one. So I think I'm going to put a bid in for him. So we're going to start, I mean, they've said 26 million. This will be about 35. So here we go. Let's have a look. Oh, they want 30 for him. So percentage of profit from the next sale. Can we knock that down? Let's go 5. Lock that in. Let's try and knock him down, or knock them down to 27. And they've gone for that. Do we put a bid in for the other one? Not quite sure yet. Got to bear in mind that the director of football is still doing his business. He may come through with somebody. So, like I said before, don't jump too early. I think we've got a really good centre-back there. If he comes into us, he is wanted by other clubs. But if he comes in, I think we've got a really good centre-back. Defensive midfield next. And, well, it'd be very nice if we could have Declan Rice. 201 to 221 million. Very nice if you can afford it. Obviously we can't. So, I mean, there's a cheap lad. Well, Harvey White at Tottenham. 1.1 million. Have a quick look at him. I mean, he's not great, is he? Coming as a 2.5 star with the potential to be 4. He's very young, but it's a very important position, DM. So I wouldn't necessarily think about signing him. Another one that takes my eye there, scrolling down a little bit more, got a value of 11.5 to 14 million. Asolani, he's marking and tackling are not very good. His mentals are a little bit low. It's not massively quick either, so I think I'd skip over that one. 12 to 17 million. He's got a 3.5 star rating. 27-year-old. Pablo Rosario. So we bear in mind we want to play him there. He's primarily a ball-winning midfield player, so you've got to watch the aggression here. If that aggression gets too high and you play him as a ball-winning midfield player, they will get a lot of yellow cards and possibly get sent off. But I would probably be playing more as an anchor or defensive midfield player. He's got very good marking and tackling. He's natural fitness, balance. He's not massively quick, but he is 6'2", and his mentals are very, very good. I mean, potentially. I mean, let's just ask his agent, see what's going on with this one. 15 to 23 million. He wants between 85 and 110. Let's always try and knock the wages down. Let's try and save a few bob. 76 to 100. I mean, he potentially could do a job for us. I don't really have an awful lot in that position of the field. So, Might even need to buy 2, I'm not sure. So here's the benefit of scrolling down the list a little bit further. We're into Bs now. He's not been scouted fully, but potentially he's a 3.5 star with the potential to be 5, 8 to 11 million, and he is classed as a Wonderkid. By the way, while we're on this, and again, some people will class this as cheating, but another little tip, if you know about this, then fine. If you don't, if you click the media description there, it will sort players out by media description. And if we just do that and then scroll right down to W's, because it does do it by, it does do it alphabetically. And in there, you can see in this list the 3 Wonderkids that are in there. So this lad is a Wonderkid. Romeo Lavia is valued at 44 million. He's in there as a Wonderkid. And Alex Scott at Bristol City is classed as a Wonderkid. I mean, let's just have a quick look at him. Again, 3.5, 4-star potential. Not quite sure I would go for him, but I'm not sure about this lad. He's not been fully scouted yet. I think we'll do another scout report on him and see what he comes through as. We're going to go back up to recommended again, because I mean, I've used that before, you know, finding the Wonderkids very, very quickly, but it does show the value of scouting, you know, going a little bit further down. And he kind of jumped out to me, you know, in the B recommended B categories there. He did jump out to me. And, you know, just scrolling down sometimes, again, we've still got Director of Football recommendations. We are on the 1st of July, so there's no need to jump. I mean, I'm scrolling down again now, and Shay Charles at Manchester City, 2-star with the potential to be 4.5. He's only 20, maybe a little bit young, but you never know what you're going to find down in these lower areas. So always have a good scout down here. Another little area, interesting area, is clubs in England release players depending on the finances that your club has got available. Sometimes this can be a source of, I've picked up 1 or 2 players over the years. You know, obviously like somebody like Aubameyang at 35, unless you were really desperate for a striker, then you probably wouldn't be looking there. But, you know, Yangel Herrera, we're looking for a ball-winning midfield player, defensive midfield player. It's not his best position, and I probably wouldn't go for him. He's not. I think we've seen better players than that already. But it's always worth looking down these just to see if there's somebody in there that potentially could be useful. I mean, Eric Bailey there, it's only 2.5 star. We need a centre-back. Would he be useful to us? Probably not, but it's always worth looking through these players. 8th of July now, and my Director of Football is bringing another player to me, Ivan Ilitch, DLP, so he can play in this role here, but he's more of a deep line playmaker. I really want somebody with better marking and tackling than him. I mean, he's a very, very good player, but he's offered about 21 million for him, and I'm not quite sure on that one. So again, the search goes on, but the Director of Football is doing a good job at the moment. He's bringing players to me, and that's exactly what I want. Anyway, I've just had a quick look at the clock and realised I've been rabbiting on now for, well, much longer than I wanted it to be. And I don't like my videos to be War and Peace. This one's gone on far too long. So I think you get the gist of what I generally do. I've actually finished my transfer business now for Leicester. If we just have a quick look through, Kefen Thuram is a player that I brought in, and he's a 3.5 star potential of 4-star. Again, very, very well rounded. Some highlight stats in there as well. I think he will do very well for us. Back to the Director of Football, Matt O'Reilly from Celtic. I needed some English trained players in there, so he has come in for centre mid, and we do need some backup for Isco, so he can play in there, which is, you know, he's really good backup. And and Marcus Leonardo. If I did have to sell Patson Daka went to Spurs, so I brought Marcus Leonardo in. If you've watched any of my saves, then you know I do like Marcus Leonardo, and he's now valued at 51 million, and I only paid about 17 for him. Again, really good value in there. And I mean, I could go on there, but you know, you get the gist of it. The director of football has brought in 3 or 4 players for me, and that's the way I use my director of football. One more thing I want to say about the director of football before I leave this video is that you can actually go and, rather than him coming to you, you can go to him. And again, if you know all about this, then fine, but there may be some people out there who don't. So if you click on the transfers button and go to the director of football button up at the top, and then come over here, request director of football suggestions, and in here, if you, let's say for instance you were after a striker, so you click on the striker button, and then you've got 4 options across the top: transfer, loan, end of contract, and free transfer. So if we leave it on transfer and do suggest, he will actually come in with players that he has identified. And he's, you know, what's he called? Wilfried Notto. They're an A+ player, 20 years old, striker at Leeds. But as you can see, they'll bring you up 3 suggestions. If we just clear that and go back in again, let's say we wanted a loan player and we wanted a right winger. Click suggest. He comes up with 1. If you can't find any, you won't get any suggestions, but he's found 1 there. And what's he called? Noni and Maduek as a right winger he's come up with. And the same thing again, we clear, request director of football suggestions, and let's say we go for free transfers this time. Let's go for centre mid. Now this time I've clicked the button, he hasn't got any, so there's no free transfers about. I wouldn't expect them to be at this stage of the season now. You usually get them round about, you know, the 1st of July, like we've already mentioned. So again, that's another little area where you can use your director of football, and I have used this very successfully over the years, particularly in FM23. It's worked quite nicely for me. So you click transfers on this side, and then you click director of football, request director of football suggestions, and then in here you can ask him for his suggestions for positions. And it has to be a selected position, so you have to put, you know, like a defender on the left, and then ask him for a transfer. And again, he's come up with 3 more here now for fullback stroke wing backs. In fact, the first 2 are wing backs, left-footed on that side. So that's another way that you can use your director of football. And with that, like I say, I think we are going to wrap it up today. Anybody who stuck it out to the end, well done. Thanks very much for watching till the end. But I think these kind of videos, you do have to watch them fully to appreciate what's going on. Because, you know, kind of instructional videos like this and hints and tips videos, you know, 1 hint or 1 tip will build on to another one. So you have to watch the whole thing all the way through. And I hope you found it, you know, helpful. Anyway, I'm going to say thanks for watching now, and I'm working on some more rebuild videos, and you know, I'm working on another Leicester video at the moment, so hopefully we'll see you very shortly. Thanks for watching.